Dr. Konyango Charles, nominee for CEC Member for Lands and Fiscal Planning. And if that is the case, then we'd like to get your original ID or passport, something to prove that it is you. Sometimes back, we received a letter from the governor nominating you for the position of County Executive Committee member for the Department of Urban Planning, Lands, Urban Planning and Housing. And it's a requirement that all the nominees of the governor goes through vetting process for the County Assembly Approvals Act. Now, we received your questionnaire, the same as per the advert that we did. So we will subject you to the vetting process. So first of all, I want you to feel free. Feel free. But before you proceed, we will take you to an oath. On the same note, I want to bring to your attention that this vetting process is public, being watched live by the public. I will allow the clerk to take you through an oath-taking process, whether you are a Buddhist, a Christian, or a Muslim, will guide you appropriately. Thereafter, we'll do introduction, and then we proceed. So, clerk.
I, Dr. Charles Onyango Otieno, do solemnly and sincerely swear that every word that I shall utter before this committee is the truth and nothing but the truth, and that every statements and declarations that I shall make shall be made conscientiously, believing the same to be true and according to the oaths and statutory declarations acts. So help me God.
Before the introduction, let us agree on some few rules. Let's put our phones on silent mode. So if any member wants to the phone, please, you can move towards this side. But I request that because these are very a short vetting process, cannot go beyond 1 hour. You can restrain. Two, as we proceed, let's respect each other. Whatever somebody is asking, whether you like it or not, you just listen to it. And our nominee, if we ask you any question and you feel you are not comfortable to answer, just tell us to pass. You don't need to struggle to answer it. You'll be protected. In front of you, there is a pen and a paper, and some water there. That microphone is very easy to use. When we ask you a question, just press and answer. When you are through answering, press it again to make it off. That will help us allow other members to be audible. When all of them are open, the audibility will be a challenge. So if you ask a question, press it, answer. When you are through, press it again, it will be off. If we can ask a multiple of questions, that's why you have a pen and a paper. You can write them, but you can answer them in the order that you choose. You can ask you 4 questions. You can start with the fourth one, the first one, or the middle one, but you tell us which one you are starting with. You don't ask, if you don't understand any question well, you can ask for a repeat of the same question. Now, very fast, my name is Alicia Jakoraro. I'm the Speaker of the County Assembly of Kisumu and the Chair of the Appointment Committee. On my left is Honorable Millicent Omuya, MCA North Seme Ward and the Vice Chair of the committee. And on my left is Haman. On the right is the Vice Chair. On the left is Haman Moses, the Clerk of the committee. On the extreme left here is Zachary Okoyo, a member of the committee. Next to him is Eunice Alando, member of the committee. We have Bill Olive, a friend of the committee. Then we have Mheshimiwa Ken Oko, the leader of majority and a member of the committee. Honorable George Abaja, member of the committee. On my extreme left, the back seat is Honorable Seth Kanga, who is the majority whip and a member of the committee. Then we have Honorable Lumumba Wade, deputy leader of majority and a member of the committee. And on the extreme left is Honorable Karen. Honorable Karen, I want you to sit somewhere next to Honorable Lumumba so that the nominee doesn't strain to see you. Honorable Karen is a member of the committee. Now on the left, we have our Hansard person, the one taking records, the one making you to be live. So the public is seeing you as you proceed. Then on next to you is Mr. Kennedy Okise, our Sergeant at Arms. He will be assisting you. If you need any assistance, just whisper to him. He'll be able to assist you. There is also another Sergeant at Arms behind you, Faith. All of them will be assisting you. So if there's any need, just ask them to assist you. Now we have introduced ourselves. Now it's your turn to introduce yourself. Unfortunately for you, I'm going to dictate how you are going to introduce yourself. I will give you an average of 3 minutes to introduce yourself, 3 to 4. But as you introduce yourself, I want you to kindly prove that you satisfy the requirements of Section 35(3) of the County Government Act 2012 with regards to your education level, requisite the position that you seek. You went to school, you have worked somewhere, so you tell us about yourself. And at the same time, I want you to discuss how your educational qualifications and the work experience would enable you to deliver in the position if you are approved. There are 2 components. About yourself, your education, and then your work experience, and all those how you will tell us how they relate to that you seek if you are approved. I'm sure that will take you around 3 or 4 minutes. But before you start, we want your original testimonials. We'll give them to the Sergeant at Arms. Just give them that way, they will come back to you. And then your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the honorable members. Dr. Charles Konyango Otieno is my name. I am an urban and regional planner by profession, having attained a master's degree from the University of Nairobi in 1991 on urban and regional planning, and also proceeded to do my PhD degree at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University on spatial planning. I have had an illustrious work experience spanning about 34 years. I started as a planner, a physical planner, and moved on to various districts in them days and served shortly or briefly in Kisumu in the year 1990 and 1991 as District Fiscal Planner 2. I moved on to become the Assistant Director and Deputy Director of Physical Planning by 2009. I have worked in the Ministry of Devolution as Deputy Director in charge of Spatial Planning. I also worked in the Ministry of Northern Kenya as Deputy Director Infrastructure. From there, I moved on to the National Land Commission, where I worked as Deputy Director, Land Use Planning, in charge of land use oversight in fulfillment of Section 262 H of the Constitution of Kenya. From there, I moved on to become the National Director of Urban Development, where I retired 1 year ago. As National Director of Urban Development, I have been associated with various projects that I've managed in Kisumu, the Kenya Urban Support Program, the Kisumu Urban Program, and also the KFW program. All those programs were within my docket. I also helped in 1991 to establish the land use planning information for Kisumu under the then chair, J.K. Sang, who was appointed by His Excellency the President at that time. And also in 2009, Your Honor, sir, I did the structure plan for Kisumu. I was then the Deputy Director in Physical Planning in charge of forward planning. And those are some of the few things that I may mention that, in my view, Your Honorable Chair, qualifies me for the position for which I appear before you, if I find favor for you to approve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before I give the panelists to ask the questions, there is something I've noticed. In your CV, I don't know if this is intentional, your date of birth is 30th of December 1963. And in the original ID, it reads something else. Is there any reason?
Your Honor, the correct position is 20th December 1963. So I think that is a typo error. Unfortunately, I did not notice it.
Now, the leader of majority, maybe you take the first place.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have a question to the nominee. We have seen the county partnering with different investors in carrying out projects. But as a county, we lease land to these companies. How would you ensure that the process of leasing public land in Kisumu County meets the legal and constitutional requirements? Thank you.
Yes, nominee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Speaker. Public-private partnership is part and parcel of the operations for investments, for project management, and for development in this country. In terms of land leasing, there are rules, laws, and regulations that govern the lease of land. The Constitution of Kenya itself is very clear on that, giving the National Land Commission the oversight provision in consultation with the county government. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, in ensuring that the lease provisions are provided for in terms of public-private partnership, I would adhere to the provisions of guided by the Physical and Land Use Planning Act in terms of leasing of land and in terms of development control. I would also seek guidance with the National Land Commission Act, and in this case would do consultation with three directorates in the National Land Commission. That is the Directorate of Land Administration and the Directorate of Land Use Planning and the Directorate of Survey and Land Information Systems. The next thing would be to ensure that the land, first of all, is valued, that land is documented, and that land is zoned for the purpose for which it is being leased, and to ensure that the lease instrument has got conditionalities that the private partners has to adhere to in terms of operating the land use within that provided land. The lease conditions should prescribe the duration or the period of the lease. It should prescribe the do's and don'ts that the lessor would be able to adhere to. And Mr. Speaker, sir, it would also have to prescribe the reporting mechanism on how we would be monitoring what is taking place on that land and at what point should be the lessee be reporting on the ongoing in the land to ensure that the conditions of the lease are adhered to. Mr. Speaker, sir, those are some of the considerations that I would make in ensuring that public land leased to private partners are used in the manner in which it is prescribed, even as the Constitution specifies that land in Kenya shall be used and managed in a manner that is beneficial, in a manner that is effective and sustainable as a finite resource. Thank you.
Honorable Karen. Let me take Honorable. You are ready? I take Honorable Eunice. Honorable Eunice, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman. So, Daktari Konyango, pursuant to the Statutory Instrument Act, formulation of regulations is a delegated function of the CEC Member. Now, kindly state to this panel the procedures of formulating a regulation.
Yes, sir, Daktari, I think that's 2 minutes, or even one can be enough, because I think the panelists just want to understand if you understand the procedures of formulating regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Chair. One, the Regulatory Instruments Act, of course, does indicate the procedure. The first thing I would do is examine the main body of the law from which the regulations are to be formulated, because regulations are usually made to operationalize a main body of the law within the county. 2, I would then proceed to do drafting of regulations on the specific clauses within the main body of the law that are supposed to be operationalized. After that, I would carry out public consultations with stakeholders, and particularly those to whom the law or the regulations would impact upon. Within that, Your Honor, Chair, I would then prepare regulatory impact assessment report, which is required as per the Statutory Instruments Act, and then proceed to prepare a report to the Assembly that then would state or an explanatory report to the County Assembly, which would then go together with the regulatory impact assessment report. Together with that, it is a requirement for public participation. And so, before submitting this to the County Assembly, I will carry out public participation, and this would be targeted public participation that ensures that it is inclusive and leaving no one behind. With that, I would then compose the 3 instruments and submit the final report, which then would incorporate the report of public hearings and public participation, the report, explanatory report, and also the regulatory impact assessment. This I would submit to the County Assembly for consideration. Thank you, Your Honor, Mr.
Honorable Seth Kanga.
Morning.
Okay. So trade is Honorable Deputy Leader Majority.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Morning, sir.
Yes. My question is, the county government of Kisumu was recently found by the High Court not to have followed due process in the procedures of enactment of its evaluation role, pursuant to the ruling of Court in the Republic versus County Government of Kisumu ex parte, John Michael Obure, 2022. Kindly inform this committee the public participation procedures to be followed in the enactment process of the evaluation role in accordance with the evaluation of Rating Act.
Yes, Akonyango.
Thank you, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, sir. Evaluation for rating is governed by the Evaluation for Rating Act and the Rating Act, 266 and 267 laws of Kenya, which stipulates the process. And the only thing is that the 2 pieces of legislation does not incorporate in clear terms as after the 2010 Constitution, public participation process. The first thing in terms of public participation would be the publication of a notice to Kisumu County, all the residents that would be affected, of the intention of the Kisumu County to carry out evaluation for rating. 2 would then be appointment of the valuers that would then be able to carry out the evaluation, preparation of the role, and upon the preparation of the evaluation role, publish the same, the draft, in a place where the public can be able to access, and invite the public for participation, that giving specific period, beginning date and end date by which the public should submit their representations. These representations are, together with the draft valuation, would then be submitted to the clerk of the House, who would then submit the same to the County Assembly. But before then, I wish to mention that the regulations, or rather the valuation role, can either entail, now that the High Court has pronounced itself adversely on this valuation role, it may mean that we prepare a supplementary valuation role to the valuation role that was pronounced adversely by the public, by the High Court. If not that, then consideration of the specific offending clauses as per the law, and these are the ones that then we would amend. So the amended valuation or the supplementary valuation would then be placed in public for scrutiny and invitation of the public to make representations. The other aspect of public participation, sir, is that for all the people that are affected or whose properties are affected or impacted on by the valuation role, they have to be informed individually, stating the plot or the property and the location and the manner in which the valuation role affects them, either by improvement of the site improved value or whether we are rating on an improved site value. All this information must be available. The next thing, of course, is that this information should be publicly available within the website for the department and of the Kisumu County. That is the method of public participation that we would consider in terms of doing diligence to the pronouncement, the adverse pronouncement of the court. That is how we would cure that process. Thank you.
Dr. Kanyago, you've referred to two statutes and to be specific, the valuation for rating, no, Cap 266. Are you aware that there is a current statute on rating?
Yes, sir. I'm aware that there is the current, but this, to my understanding, sir, the evaluation role that we are talking about is the 2021 valuation, and sir, I stand corrected. And so the provisions, of course, for public participation, as I've indicated, would have to take cognizance of the new covenant and the new dispensation and concept of the law that governs the valuation for rating.
Is that Honorable Lumumba?
Dr. Go,
Yes, sir.
you are appearing before this vetting committee, knowing very well that you should be answering questions that are relevant to the current constitution or status. You are answering, putting the previous, the already amended act, and ignore to answer in recognition to 2021 Amendment Act. Why did you do that? Or why did you find it not necessary to be relevant?
Your Honor, if I may answer that, I'm alive to the new constitutional dispensation and alive to the amendments of the laws.
Honorable Koyo?
Not answered. I was waiting for your attention.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity. Now, I was saying, Your Honor, sir, that I'm alive to the new constitutional dispensation and the amendment of all the laws that operationalize and govern the land and environment, including the valuation for rating. And to that extent, what I'm doing, or what I did, was to borrow a leaf from the previous, which has been carried now, but these laws have been repealed. And therefore, Your Honor, sir, they are no longer operationalized. The valuation for rating, with regard to your question, in terms of public participation, would be confined within the constitutional thresholds for public participation. And that is what I have confined myself to indicate the method for public participation that we would do in order to cure the adverse pronouncements that the court has made on this law, to ensure that the public are fully incorporated, informed, and facilitated to make their proper representation and be satisfied that their views and interests have been. One thing I've mentioned, which is the issue of taking a census of all the properties that then would be affected, and ensuring that the affected owners are informed of the manner in which the valuation role would affect them, and given an opportunity for representation, which representation has got to be compiled and a report prepared, and that report submitted to the county assembly, together with the new either supplementary valuation role or the original valuation role, citing the sections that have been amended and how they have been amended.
Dr. That one you said, but I think what is asking is you said you are aware of the current statute. In the previous statute, it was the town clerk who was to gazette the draft valuation role. But you are aware that with the 2010 constitution, we no longer have a town clerk. There is no town clerk. Now, in this case, who is responsible for making the gazette notice as per the current provision?
Your Honor, sir, we have a situation in Kisumu where we have the city and the city board and city manager. And we have the county executive committee member. So the county executive committee member would be responsible in this case, and would be the one that would then be submitting to the county assembly. So the work of the city manager would be a compilation and submission through the CEC, the county assembly. Thank you.
So, Your Honorable, or we go to Honorable Koyo first. Honorable Koyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I have a very simple question here. Given the rapid urbanization in Kisumu County, how would you balance sustainable urban development with the protection of environmentally sensitive areas, while ensuring compliance with the legal and policy frameworks? Thank you.
Yes, Doctor.
Thank you, through the chair. Number one, in terms of rapid urbanization, the first most important thing would be to establish the urban growth boundaries for Kisumu, so that we are able to address the issue of urban sprawl. So once we establish the urban growth boundaries, then we would proceed to establish the zoning and attendant regulations that would be used for urban control. I would employ and enforce the provisions of the Physical and Land Use Planning Act that makes provision for the planning and to ensure that there is a controlled development. And in the Physical and Land Use Planning Act 2019, Chair, there is a chapter that deals with development control. What I would proceed to do is to unbundle the development control as it applies to Kisumu and ensuring that we domesticate the development control rules to Kisumu. I would then seek consideration of EMCA, the Environment Management Act, to ensure that we are clear on environmentally volatile areas for which we should exercise preservation and conservation, to ensure that even if they were falling within the perimeter of the established urban growth boundary, we have to preserve those areas based on their level of vulnerability. The Urban Areas and Cities Act also stipulates the various types of plans that we would then be able to make, and I would seek to prepare both the subject plans, the subject area plans, and I would seek to prepare the specific zoning plans and prepare the action area plans. Chair, what happens is once the strategic spatial plans or integrated urban development plans are prepared, the mistake that we usually do is to leave them at a framework level without unbundling or going down to prepare the various operating instruments for the plan. In this case, the operating instruments for the plan are the zoning plans, the control plans, the zoning and development control regulations, as well as the subject plans and action area plans. These ones go to the detail to depict the exact developments and land uses that needs to be applied. With this, I believe we would be able to manage the runaway urban development of Kisumu. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I like the way you are putting it, the plans and the rest. And we are seeing a very good county. But my concern is, with the limited county resources, which I'm sure you must be aware based on your introduction, which shows that you worked with the county. With the limited county resources and increasing demand for infrastructure and housing, what innovative strategies would you employ to mobilize funding for urban development in Kisumu County so that you implement what you're talking about?
Thank you very much, Your Honor, sir. First of all, there is need for public-private partnerships in terms of resource mobilization. What I would proceed to do is to examine areas of potential investments and partnerships where we can mobilize additional and extra resources in partnerships with the private sector, either as part of social corporate responsibility or part of investments out of which they will recoup returns. The other thing, Chair, is I would employ certain considerations within the framework of exercising revenue from land, including the land value capture. That is very important, and land value capture is actually something that has not been embraced fully in this country. It's an innovative way. It has worked elsewhere. There is also what we call the betterment rights, which the county or the city can be able to exercise as a way or an innovative way of raising further revenue. Development control itself if unbundled, is a very potential way of raising revenue, because you would find, Chair, that there are developments that would ordinarily attract services and therefore generate revenue for the county, but the lack of a clear development control provision or development control framework, these areas would lie untapped. So what I would move on to do is to interrogate the development control framework of Kisumu and see which areas are still having not been tapped and are revenue generating in perspective. Of course, there are also other additional revenue sources that I would look into. Chair, we have the KISRIP. In Kisumu, we only have the KISIP, Kenya Informal Sector Improvement Program, but we have other additional sources that can be able to bring in development through conditional grants, such as the KISRIP, such as the BICRAP, the Building of Climate Resilience for the Urban Poor Program, because for now, in terms of external or additional revenue from partners, Kisumu so far, as I have known it, is only having revenue streaming in terms of additional generated revenue from KSIP and also KUSP as they support the project. But we can leverage the additional partner and donor programs to ensure that we bring in other projects that would provide services, and out of those services, we expand the scope and horizon of our revenue base within Kisumu. Finally, Chair, I would also want to do revenue-based analysis of Kisumu and a revenue mapping, because I am yet to come, through my experience, I am yet to come across any municipality or county that has exercised all the revenue streams and have tapped them. You find some counties have only tapped 5 out of 9, or maybe the maximum that I've found is about 6. But most revenue streams lie untapped, and those are the areas that I would interrogate to see, first of all, mapping of revenue based analysis and revenue streams in Kisumu, and seeing which ones we can be able to leverage to bring in more revenue. Thank you, Your Honor, Chair.
Honorable Leader of Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I've heard you several talk about public participation. What's your opinion on the principle of public participation and its necessity in the Department of Planning?
Yes, sir, Dr. Jando, maybe 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Public participation is important because it creates ownership. Ownership of the process and ownership of the product. It also ensures that it creates partnerships in terms of implementation, once ownership of the product and the process have been undertaken. Also, public participation would ensure that the public are aware, and they are aware of their rights, their obligations as well, because rights and obligations goes together. So within the Department of Lands, Your Honor, should I find favor with you, your committee, I would look at the various operations within the department that require public participation, how far they have been done, and be able to widen the scope where necessary. Much more, the Urban Areas and Cities Act requires for citizen engagement. It's a requirement of the Urban Areas and Cities Act. So I would move on to ensure that the citizen fora are convened and the views of the public are taken on board and are incorporated within the decisions that I would propose to the County Assembly to take on board. Thank you, Chair.
What do you consider as the reasonable test and appropriate threshold for public participation? At what time do you say that an effective public participation is effective?
Chair, to establish a threshold for public participation, we must be able to, first of all, do a mapping, excuse me, to know who are supposed to be considered in the public participation. The reason being that if we can widen the scope of public participation and end up not bringing on board the people that would be affected by either the regulation, the plans, or the subject that is for public participation. So I would ensure first that the public participation is focused and prove that it was focused and that the people that were supposed to be affected have been consulted. Two, the law provides for the duration. I would ensure that where we are supposed to be giving 30-day or 25-day notices, that one is given within the period provided for in the law. Also, ensure that we take on board a roll call and a register of all the people that have been involved in public participation to ensure that the constituencies are all met. Apart from that, ensure that the outcome of the public participation is also published in the website and in other places, notice boards, where the public can have access to give any further rejoinder if there are any. So that is how I would then go on to map and framework the limits of the public participation. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Nere.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I don't have so many questions for the nominee, but I only want to ask what he understands, his understanding about the regularization of land development procedures currently applied in Kisumu County.
Yes, Secretary.
Chair, I want to say that this act is one of the very innovative instruments that Kisumu County has come up with, which is innovative and ensures inclusion in terms of land management. In terms of regularization of land, there are areas that we cannot regularize, and that is where the land that is subject of regularization contravenes either the Physical and Land Use Planning Act, the Environmental Act, or the Urban Areas and Cities Act, or any other law that governs management and use of land. Such cannot be regularized. For example, developments that are falling within road reserves or areas that are reserved for public spaces. However, the Regularization Act is, I've said, very innovative because it gives room for correcting that which was done irregularly, and it provides for the county executive member to also make extension not later than 6 months or for not more than 6 months. That's a very innovative in consultation where there is an expiry of the regularization time frame before the owners of these properties apply. I call it an innovative way because it is not punitive and it does not portray the county as going after the developers. Instead, it invites the developers to cooperate with the county in terms of land use management. It is important this way because, again, It would then help or enable the county to enter into and interrogate the properties before they are regularized. So this piece of legislation, Chair, to me is one of the milestones and innovative piece of legislation ever to be done by your county assembly. Thank you.
Finally, Chair, looking at his credentials and other testimonials presented, I can see a police clearance certificate dated 1st August 2019. I wonder why he failed to submit a current one.
I think I checked, I saw a receipt showing that he has submitted his fingerprints.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Chair. That was for promotion purposes in 2019. So the current one is within the document, a receipt.
You are giving your time to Honorable Setkanga.
It's my time, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, proceed.
Although, Mr. Speaker, a receipt is not a certificate, because we have gone through this process, I think, many times as legislators. So we give you the benefit of doubt. I think you will avail it before we present report to the plenary. My question, Mr. Speaker, to Dr. is that the projects within the county government, projects that are taken by the county government, have always received scrutiny or audit in a manner or the quality of their management. In some cases, some projects are stalled, while other projects are in use while the contractors have not been paid. In your opinion, why is this happening? And number two, can you briefly state to the committee the procedures that are to be followed in project management pursuant to the Kisumu County Government Project Management Act? Thank you.
Yes, Dr.
Thank you, Chair, sir. True, projects face scrutiny, and particularly where you have mega projects and many in that manner. The reasons why some of the projects fail or why they attract scrutiny, one is delays. There are normally delays in honoring the certificates that are raised by the contractors. And that is because of the flow of funds. So as a county government, we can pay only when funds are available. And these funds ordinarily sometimes are not within the complete and full control of the county. They would depend on either the release through, if they are donor projects, or the release from the National Treasury on the shared revenue, where they are paid from the county CRF. There are also times when contractors themselves delay projects, giving excuses with a bid to ensure that time extension is requested for, and in this case, cost time extension. There are, of course, other unforeseen circumstances, like issues of weather, and I would give you an example. I was managing the AfriCities project in Mamboleo, and we had problems of weather. We were doing a time of a rainy season Good enough, the part of the project that I was managing is complete. I did complete it, although with some stress and strain. Those are part of what ordinarily would cause delays. Resources for managing the project, because sometimes projects are managed from without. Like in this case, where the project is domiciled in Kisumu, but is managed from Nairobi. So the technical staff actually, come from Nairobi to do the management, and you would find that lack of capacity within the city or within the county to be able to take cognizance and manage these projects. So capacity also causes delays. In this case, I would hasten, Chair, to state that in 2019, as the Director of Urban Development, we did employ architects, surveyors, quantity surveyors, engineers, and planners, and we posted them to Kisumu County, 5 officers, to beef the staff capacity that would help us to manage the projects, particularly the Kenya Urban Support Program projects. In terms of, excuse me, in terms of project management, as process and schedule, I would state through the chair that the county, Kisumu County Project Management Act specifies the processes and procedures for project management, which would effectively help us to address some of these problems of delays in project execution and ensure timely delivery, all other factors held constant. Part of this is the development of a clear problem execution plan, which should be a Gantt chart in form of a Gantt chart. It's a framework. It can be in form of a Gantt chart that would specify the various timelines, and it also specifies the conditionalities or the indicators that should be monitored, which indicators would show us, Chair, when a project is running in delay or is not running in delay, but is likely to run into delay and ground even to a halt. So the other thing that I would do then is establish a very broad-based and multidisciplinary project management committee that would bring on board staff and disciplines from various sectoral areas within the project scope, and give timelines for specific monitoring on the project execution as is provided for within the law. So one of the things, Chair, again, that I will state then is that if we adhere very, very closely to the provisions of the Kisumu Project Management Act, then the issues of undue delays, unless where it is outside of the norm, all projects should actually be handled and delivered within time frame. The other thing that I would hasten to state is on the issue of projects which are taken over before actually they are handed over, that is taking over without handing over. Sometimes, Chair, this becomes necessary, especially where we find that delays do not have any tangible provisions. And when I talk about delays, for example, that do not have tangible reasons, when it is a delay because a certificate has not been, has not been honored, and the project is complete and ready for occupation, the Act makes it very clear that projects are meant for services provision. And so if we delay taking over of projects, then we are delaying the provision of services. So as per the Kisumu County Projects Management Act, it would be very important that we would move on, apply the act to take over these projects and ensure that services to the public are rendered. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, in relation to that, Dr. Nyango, are you aware of any of the challenges the county governments are facing generally as far as disbursement of funds from Treasury through the controller of budget is concerned, now that you are intending to cross from the national government to the county government? There are bureaucracies which are in place for funds to be disbursed to the county government. Can you highlight to us some of the challenges the county governments are facing generally in Kenya as far as disbursement of funds is concerned?
2 minutes.
Yes, Chair. One of those really is the delay in the approval or passing by the Senate of the county, the revenue. And like, for example, recently we had a delay in the passing of the County Additional Revenue Act. That would necessarily cause those delays. But apart from that, there are huge challenges that we've dealt with and discussed, even regarding donor funds, which requires supplementary budgets. And you would find that from the national government, the preparation and submission of these supplementary budgets from the departments that are in charge are delayed. And that means, therefore, that the downstream of it, there will be delay in those funds reaching the counties. So what I would say is that there is generally a problem in terms of full operationalization of I would call it devolution, in the sense that even functions, for example, we just recently were still struggling with the unbundling and transfer of functions that are scheduled, in Schedule 4 to the county government. And part of this revenue still are held at the national government level. To disburse this revenue would therefore mean that what we would do is transfer these functions wholesale, and functions transferred, the revenues and the resources that goes with meeting those functions should follow. So generally there is a problem, sir, and these problems we've oftentimes discussed them at the COG, but I wouldn't say that we have overcome the problems wholesale. They are still teething, but it is late because we are, I would say, 15 years in our devolution. We should have overcome these problems by now. Thank you.
I think the Vice Chair has a question.
Dr. How are you? Pole, pole.
I'm okay, Your Honor.
Yes, I have two questions.
Thank you.
First, how will you handle disputes arising from lease agreements between the county government of Kisumu and private entities to safeguard the public interest? That one is one. You've gotten?
Disputes in leasing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Lease agreements between the county government of Kisumu and private entities to safeguard the public interest. The second question, me as an MCA, suppose I want to purchase land for health project. Where should I place my budget? In your department as Minister of Lands or the Department of Health? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Sir, allow me to start with the last question. The purchase of land by the county government. Once that land is purchased, it is public. And therefore, that land must be identified, it must be planned, it must be valued before the land can be purchased. I submit, therefore, Chair, that you place your request within the county department in charge of land, planning, physical planning, housing and urban development. That is where it originates, and it would end up with the county executive committee member in charge of finance. So the genesis is with the CEC in charge of lands. That's one. The second, of course, a chair, through the chair, the planning and zoning of such land, because we would purchase the land, we would give an advisory to you as the member requesting this, whether the land is suitable and whether the land would be value for the money, and whether that land would be sustainable in terms of servicing or provision of the service for which, the health service for which you seek the land. In terms of dispute resolution arising from property leased to private entities to safeguard public interest, I would say through the chair that the first thing that the county assembly has or stands on is safeguarding public interests, and through the same to the county government in terms of service provision. Where land is leased, we have to first of all ensure that that land is suitable for the purpose for which it is being leased, and within the plan for Kisumu, that land is available for leasing for that purpose. That would help us avoid disputes. The other thing is putting dispute resolution mechanism, and in this case, I would go for things like arbitration, and I would establish dispute resolution mechanisms and reporting, which then would help us mitigate any long litigations and also mitigate the cost implications of disputes. So arbitration would be, on negotiations, would be a very important way of dispute resolution. But I want to hasten to state that the lease agreement itself should contain the mechanism or should anticipate disputes and indicate the mechanism for resolving such disputes, either inter-party or where we need to refer such disputes to a different party like arbitration or to the court, having exhausted all the dispute resolution mechanisms that are there. In leasing the land, we should ensure that the land is zoned for the purpose and the conditions for development are also prescribed within the lease agreement. That would therefore ensure that we safeguard public interest. Public interest would be in terms of ownership of that land, the use of that land in a manner that is sustainable and a manner that ensures that there are no downstream adverse impacts on the residents or the people that are ordinarily resident within the boundaries of the property that is leased. In that manner, we would then ensure that we avoid disputes, and also we would have a proper mechanism that even the person or the private entity that has leased the land has an edict through which they walk through, knowing very well that these are the boundaries that if they cross, a dispute arises, and this is the mechanism for which that dispute. And we should also put within it sanctions and remedies, so that the lessor knows very clearly that where a dispute has arisen because of contravention of the provisions of the lease or the zoning of the land and the use of that land, then there are certain penalties and sanctions that would go with it. I would then also, to ensure that public interest is safeguarded, establish a monitoring. You do not lease land and then you leave it, but you lease land and you retain the right to monitor, the right to evaluate the performance, of the activity, and the right to monitor the activity and the use of that land. And this should be on a periodic basis, so that we are able to arrest the incidences where disputes would arise before the fact.
Seth, you didn't inform me that you are intending to ask a question.